Hey guys, welcome back to the Gears and Tool channel. Today we're reviewing the Leatherman OHT, which is Leatherman's direct competitor to the Gerber Centerdrive. Now this tool has some similarities to the Gerber Centerdrive, but there's also some very distinct differences as well, making it a very unique tool in itself. So let's go ahead and take a look. So first things first, let's take a look at the sheath. The sheath is definitely bulkier than Leatherman's other offerings, and it has a large Velcro pad here. It's not a snap button like some of Leatherman's newer offerings. If you guys watch many of my reviews, you know I like the snap button better, but you know, for a one-handed tool, it kind of makes sense to have a large flap if it's on your belt, or it is MOLLE compatible as well, so you know the webbing on the back, you can incorporate their MOLLE gear. So it kind of makes sense that it is a large flap style Velcro, but it definitely makes it bulkier than a lot of Leatherman's other options. Inside, it's just one pocket, and the tool fits relatively snugly, so it's not just going to fall out in regular use. Other than that, there's not a lot to say about the sheath, so let's go ahead and get that off the table and just take a look at the tool itself. So the big selling point of this tool is that it is one-handed operation, and they definitely steal some ideas from the Gerber Centerdrive, but it's definitely uniquely a Leatherman product. It's not just a straight knockoff. This tool was first released in 2004 and has pliers that just slide right out like that. And the pliers are spring-loaded, which makes them really easy to use one-handed. And like I said, it's a one-handed tool, so you can retract the pliers one-handed. You can also deploy them one-handed with the flick of a wrist, similar to the Gerber Centerdrive, just like that. So in addition to the one-handed deployment and the spring-loaded pliers, the plier heads have removable wire cutters with the hard wire cutting nook in the very bottom, the standard plier grips, and then the needle nose function, which is very similar to the Leatherman Wave in size. Speaking of size, when fully closed, this tool is 4.5 inches long, 1.8 inches wide at the buttons, and 0.8 inches thick, which is pretty good sized. When you compare that to the Wave, it's noticeably smaller. Even though the Wave weighs 8.7 ounces and this tool weighs right at 9 ounces, the tool itself is more comparable to the Surge in its overall size dimensions. And Leatherman on their website lists it as a heavy-duty multi-tool. They're really targeting the military and law enforcement demographic with this tool. So about the size of the Surge, but the weight of the Wave. And a large part of that's because of the retractable pliers. They had to make a lot of room inside the tool. So if I put this white piece of paper down, you can see there's a lot of empty space inside the tool that allow the plier heads to go in and out. So relatively lightweight tool, considering it's a larger form factor, which is actually pretty good if you have like gloved hands or something like that. The extra real estate is going to be great for using this tool. And before we start opening this tool up, I just want to point out something real quick that Leatherman's done a really good job of on this tool, and I haven't seen on their Wave and Charge models, and it'd be nice to see this incorporated. If you look closely, they've included icons on the handle to show what tool that location is holding. For example, this shows kind of a claw, which is the can opener / cap lifter. So a nice little touch there. I do know that like the Leatherman Free series does do this, and I think the Sidekick and Wingman do as well, but the Wave, the Surge, the Charge, none of them have icons on them showing you what one-handed tool is at that location. Great job there, really like that touch. And for the rest of the review, I'm gonna go ahead and try and do this one-handed because it is a one-handed tool. So first up, we have the 2.1 inch long knife blade, which is definitely shorter than what we find on a lot of Leatherman's other tools, which makes sense because they have to get a tool on each side. So you have to make the tools a little bit shorter so you can fit everything in. In comparison, the Leatherman Waved blade is 2.9 inches long, and you can clearly see that the cutting length is significantly longer on the Leatherman Wave. But even though the primary blade is shorter, it does have a secondary serrated edge knife blade, which the Gerber Centerdrive does not have. So even though the knives are a little bit shorter, I do like that it has both the straight edge and serrated edge knife blades. On the other side of the tool, we have the rescue cutting hook / seatbelt cutter and the saw. And this is a really short saw for a Leatherman product of this size, but again, they're trying to get tools on both sides of the handle, whereas like the Leatherman Wave, they only had to fit one tool on each side of the handle. So that's it for kind of the butt end of the tool. Let's go ahead and close it up and take a look at the plier head side of the tool. On this side, we have a mini screwdriver / piercing tool, a medium-sized flathead screwdriver, the can opener / cap lifter, which might be the most important part of the tool for some people, and lastly but not least, the Phillips head screwdriver. Now this Phillips head screwdriver is actually pretty nice, but it is not a bit exchanger screwdriver like they have on the Leatherman Wave. But that being said, the Leatherman's Wave screwdriver requires 2 hands to open up. Also, it takes more than 1 hand to change out the bit anyways, so really wouldn't be a one-handed feature if they had the bit exchanger. So that's all the tools for the Leatherman OHT. So what's my overall takeaway on this? Well, I think for a one-handed multi-tool, excellent implementation. So if you're in the market for a one-handed multi-tool that's truly one-handed, at $90, this is a really compelling option. The pliers come out really quick, and it has all the basic features you would look for in any multi-tool, such as multiple knife blades and the primary screwdriver functions that you come to expect from any Leatherman product. Some of the downsides are Leatherman had to create a lot of space to get the one-handed deployable plier heads inside the tool itself, which makes the tool about the size of a Leatherman Surge, but the weight of a Leatherman Wave. To do this, they had to get rid of certain features such as the scissors and file that we've come to expect on many of Leatherman's offerings. That being said, for a one-handed multi-tool, it does everything it set out to do very well in a nice form factor. I would classify this as a very niche tool. Its capabilities are somewhat limited by the design compromises they had to implement in order to make this a truly one-handed tool. And there are certain things that it doesn't do as well as other tools, like the Gerber Centerdrive with its large driver. I see this type of tool being used with this pouch being strapped on to a pack or a vest or something like that, so it's ready to use in an instant when you really need it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button below. It definitely helps the channel out a lot. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you will be the first to be notified when I release future product review videos just like this one. Cheers!